So today I want to talk to you about the weakest link in the chain and how you should have contingencies for repairing these weakest links. This is primarily associated with running a business or entrepreneurship, but it can be very relevant in all aspects of life. So hopefully this is useful for you. Keep on watching, keep on listening. Welcome back to consecutive day 1625 of a diary of a Runpreneur. If you believe in my mission of saving the lives of children by attempting the ultimate ultramarathon of run vlogging on consecutive days, distance of a lap of the world, barefoot style, then do give this a subscribe, share, like and comment. More people we get in front of, more money we raise, more children's lives we save, which is why I do this every single day. Thank you as always, and let's get started. So, consecutive day 1625 for Diary of a Runpreneur, and today's topic is all about the weakest link in the chain and why you should have contingencies for these weakest links and how you're going to rectify them. So, the reason for this is there's quite a common analogy in business. It's often referred to the chain being all aspects of the business and different links being different sections or departments of that business. Or you could use a hose, and if there's any leaks in the hose, you fix the biggest leak first, or you fix the weakest link. So what we basically mean by this is that no business is perfect, and there will always be a so-called weak point in the hose or the chain that should be primarily focused on fixing first. And it's really, really important you kind of have this analogy, because it's a great way for prioritizing kind of the most important jobs or tasks to do within your business. So I like the hose analogy is really good, because ultimately the flow of water through the hose is the money or the success or whatever metric you're trying to qualify your business performing well at. And obviously the more leaks you have in the hose, or the bigger the leak, the slower the flow of success is going to be through the pipe. The weakest link in the chain metric basically means, if your business is going to come crumbling down, it would be because of the weakest link, and that's why you should focus on that. But I quite like the hose analogy, but the weakest link is often an easier way of describing how to focus on the biggest issue within the business. So now I've clarified that, what do I mean by this and having contingencies around it? So technically speaking, that's the prioritization mechanism. So let's use the hose analogy again. There's probably several leaks in any hose that you have in business, because no business is perfect. But the key thing is to try and make the flow of water pressure going through the hose as strong and as powerful and as vibrant as possible, which is going to make your business the most successful. So you should be looking for the biggest leak, or the most extreme one that has the biggest impact on the flow of the water, and that's the one you want to fix first. So it could be a number of things that could go wrong, but I'll give you an example of what's happening in my business at the moment. So one of my businesses, we've got some bank restrictions. Okay, that is a major issue, because our ability to take incoming earnings and pay our kind of creditors in a timely manner have been adversely affected due to some banking restrictions that we're currently working through. Now clearly there's something that needs to be focused on and fixed, primarily because if we don't fix it pretty quick, it's going to basically affect all of the stakeholders in such a negative way that we'll end up losing customers, losing suppliers, and ultimately losing the business. So we have to fix it. So the cut and thrust of it is we've got a new banking system being set up at the moment. We've got new accounts set up and in play already, and we're in the process of transitioning things over. And in order to not just fix this process, which is what we've done, but also to ensure that it doesn't happen again, we're switching the whole banking operation to a new bank, which is more sufficient and suitable for our needs. The reality is we were working with a much smaller bank, which was perfect for a new business startup. Once the business grows and scales, you need to kind of grow and scale your banking operations alongside it, and that's something that we made a mistake. So we fixed that. But then what I mean by having contingencies on your weakest link is we're not going to close the secondary account. We've actually got a secondary and a tertiary account in place now, so we have multiple banking facilities, all that can be operational in their own right, and we can share funds between them. So if we do get banking restrictions again in future, it will have a very minimal impact on our ability to trade. So this is what I mean. It's all good and well fixing the problem, but then you need to have a contingency in place to ensure that A, that doesn't happen again, and B, if it does, we'll take this action to ensure that the disruption is minimal. Really, really an important concept. And I think quite a lot of people in business or real life, you know, people make mistakes and they correct that mistake, but they don't learn from it or put a long-lasting solution. They almost put a plaster over it, and they say, oh, that's fixed now, but they don't kind of fix it for the long term. So it's like the cracks in the foundation of a building. Okay, you know, somebody might just put some kind of supportive tape around it or whatever. I know I'm giving pretty extreme examples here. Inevitably that might give you a few days or months of support, but inevitably that's going to fail and the cracks are going to materialize again and cause further issue. The sensible play is to scrape all the mortar out, re-point it, and ensure it's completely got stability for the future. That would be not only fixing the issue, but making sure it doesn't happen again and actually reinforcing the joint by repointing it to ensure that it lasts the test of time. So the point I'm trying to make here is don't plaster over the cracks. Make sure you identify the cracks, you fix them. So it might be that you do a temporary fix initially, but then you come back and reinforce it so that thing never happens again. And it's incredibly important. Another one that we're kind of undergoing at the moment is issues with solicitors and AML checks of investors, anti-money laundering, if you're not familiar with AML. And ultimately, we've put so much business through 80 firm solicitors that they're struggling now to keep up with the volume of work that we've got. So it's now starting to bottleneck and cause concerns. So not only have we fixed it with systems and processes to make sure it's better, but we've now actually got our solicitor to identify a better firm to be a kind of conduit between, because it's our solicitor that we work with is a self-employed one, so works in collaboration with firms, and she has now identified a much better infrastructure that we can work with that doesn't just fix the short-term problem with systems and processes, but the long-term problem with more infrastructure, more resource, so that when it gets super busy, there's more people that can jump on to ensure that our service level agreements are adhered to. So ultimately, the learnings from my diary today are that, identifying the weakest link or the biggest leak in your business is one thing. The second thing is fixing it, which is super, super important. It gives you a prioritization of what you need to focus on first. But don't just temporarily fix it. And so I see so many people doing this by plastering over the cracks, thinking that will fix it long term. It's a short-term fix or a medium-term fix, but that issue will come back bigger and bolder in the future if you do not fix it for the long term and have a contingency around ensuring that issue doesn't come back again. So I often say that the most successful entrepreneurs are the ones that solve the most problems in the most efficient manner. Now, you might think a very quick fire solution to a problem, plastering over the cracks, is a quick and efficient way of solving it. Yes, do it immediately to get the short-term gain, but you have to come back and reinforce the solution so that problem doesn't materialize in the future. Because what's the point of a short-term gain and then you get long-term pain? Have some short-term gain, but make sure you put the foundations in place for the long-term gain. Otherwise, these small issues now, or small problems now, will basically significantly grow and exponentially cause you significant issues in the future. So have a contingency on a short-term solution. Hope that's useful.